could you do me a favor?
Yeah.
Could you take this pen and put it right through your hand, please?
Why I need to follow you?
Just yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, no, right through. I want you to
no.
right through your hand.
No.
No? You won't do it?
No.
No?
Yeah.
So, okay, let's try something. Suppose, by some magic, you have to just pretend that if you took that pen and you put it through your hand, no child in Cambodia would starve and have suffering, but it would be 100% up to you. If you tried to put it through your hand by some magic, you could save all the children. Would you try?
How about me and my family?
Everyone. So would you try to put your pen through your hand if it could save all the children in Cambodia?
And include my family?
Pardon?
Include my family
Yes,
as well?
yes.
Yes, I do. I can do.
Okay. So we'll say so 1, no. Number 2, yes.
Yes. Because just a hand, not a life. Just a hand.
So the idea behind this, you're explaining to a client, suffering for no reason isn't a good idea. Suffering for a purpose is a good idea.
Yeah.
And in fact, it's honorable. You would be a hero if you could save the children by doing something painful to yourself. Yeah, great. Thank you very much. So the second part of ACT is we want to help people identify values that they want to build their life around, and building your life around your values will involve suffering. It will be hard. So for that mom, yes, it's going to be hard for her to go to this performance. It's going to be hard. I can't make it not hard. But if she's willing to suffer for love of her daughter, that's awesome. So with the clients, we do number 1, help them figure out what their values are, and then help them accept that sometimes in life, going for your dreams, going for your values is going to be hard, and you'll suffer, especially if you're a patient who has anxiety, who has depression, who has eating disorder, who has trauma. If you feel ugly, it won't be easy to go on a date. But if you go seeking love, that's awesome. That's so brave. So at this point, you're trying to help the clients get the idea that identify your values and then commit your daily actions towards those values. So most of ACT therapy is about that. We get through the acceptance and diffusion part pretty early. And from that point on, we're doing a lot of what did you do this week that helped you become the mother you want to be? What did you do this week that helped you seek love and connection with others that you really want to have? What did you do this week that allowed you to, whatever their dream, whatever their purpose is, each week we kind of focus on that. We never, hardly ever talk about problems anymore. They might say like, oh, I had so much worry this week that I wasn't able to, I'm like, boring. We know you worry. Old story. What did you do this week that made you a better papa? For people with addictions, I really, really, really wanted to drink. I'd be like, of course you did. What did you do this week that helped you become the husband you want to be with your craving for drinking? How did you do with that? So letting go of control strategies and committing to values is really, where are you driving your bus?
I'll translate everything. ចឹងមុនហ្នឹងយើងពាក់ព័ន្ធជាមួយ accepting ច្រើនអញ្ចឹងនៅក្នុងតង់ទី2នេះពាក់ព័ន្ធជាមួយ value ហើយ commitment អញ្ចឹងយើងដឹងហើយថាពេលដែលយើងឈឺចាប់ដោយអត់ន័យយើងអត់ធ្វើទេដូចបងគ្រីស្ណាធ្វើមុនហ្នឹងអញ្ចឹងចាក់ដៃអត់មានមូលហេតុចាក់ទៅអីប៉ុន្តែពេលដែលគាត់ថានឹងជួយសង្គ្រោះអ្នកដទៃនឹងគ្រួសារគាត់ទាំងមនុស្សជុំវិញគាត់នឹងធ្វើហ្មងហើយភាគច្រើនមនុស្សម្នាក់គាត់ធ្វើអាហ្នឹងដោយយើងថាវាមាន suffering ប៉ុន្តែវាមានន័យអញ្ចឹងពួកយើងភាគច្រើនក្នុង ACT therapy អាកន្លែង acceptance នឹងធ្វើលឿនទេហើយធ្វើដំបងប៉ុន្តែ session បន្តភាគច្រើន focus ទៅលើ commitment ហើយ value ច្រើនជាងដើម្បីឲ្យអ្នកជំងឺគាត់ទៅរក value គាត់ដូចជាមិញហ្នឹងគាត់លើកឧទាហរណ៍ថាបើពេលខ្លះ client គាត់ចូលមកគាត់និយាយអារឿងហ្នឹងតតែគាត់និយាយថាអូយខ្ញុំណែនធូងខ្ញុំបាក់គេងធ្វើទុក art therapist នឹងនិយាយថាអូយគួរឲ្យធុញនិយាយដដែលតែរឿងដដែលខ្ញុំដឹងហើយថាយើងធ្វើទុកអាហ្នឹងប៉ុន្តែថ្ងៃហ្នឹងមានបានធ្វើអីបង្ហាញថាខ្ញុំជាម្ដាយល្អខ្ញុំជាឪពុកល្អខ្ញុំបានផ្ដល់សេចក្ដីដល់ស្រឡាញ់ដល់អ្នកដទៃ
So, this is the last part we'll do today. We'll practice this with you. So, we'll do two things. One will be help you figure out, and you probably know, but help you figure out what are your values? What are the things that you really value in your life? And then number two, if you want, we can do a commitment exercise where you can make a commitment to make a change. So first, I'll kind of show you a technique we use to help people identify their values. Clients, again, sometimes have a hard time, especially when they've been beat down in life. They're maybe in poverty, they've had a lot of failure. They're like, I don't even want to dream about a life. I'm never going to have a good life. You say, okay, that's passenger. Your life is worthy. You have a life that's worth living. What do you really want to have in your life? Even if it's hard, even if it seems impossible, I want to know. So everyone can have a meaningful life, right? Everyone. So one of the exercises we do is called the funeral exercise. Attend your own funeral. Yeah, you can do it.
អញ្ចឹងយើងដឹងហើយតាមពិតម្នាក់ប្រហែលនៅក្នុងបន្ទប់ហ្នឹងមានដឹងថាខ្លួនឯងគោលដៅចង់បានអីតម្លៃជីវិតមានអីប៉ុន្តែគាត់ចង់នៅតែព្យាយាមសាកល្បងធ្វើមួយយើងព្រោះភាគច្រើន client យើងពេលខ្លះក៏គិតថាជីវិតគាត់អត់ន័យសូម្បីតែមានតម្លៃចំណុចល្អហ្នឹងគាត់ក៏មិនសមធ្វើផងប៉ុន្តែយើងជា therapist ព្យាយាមបញ្យល់អាហ្នឹងឲ្យគាត់ឡើងវិញទោះជាមើលទៅ impossible វាពិបាកសម័យមិនក្តៅក៏យើងជា client ត្រូវរក value ឲ្យបានដែរហើយ exercise ដែលគាត់នឹងធ្វើហ្នឹង technique ហ្នឹងគឺទៅចូលរួមសពខ្លួនឯង
So close your eyes for a minute and just relax. Mention something. We're going to do values and committed action, and I'm going to cry. So I'm just telling you that right up now. I'm just going to tell you that it's going to happen. And that's a passenger. That was my passenger showing up for no reason. I think I can hear better. But, okay. You brought up a good question. And so you'll learn this. We'll do values and committed action. But before we get there, I just wanted to mention the skills that we're learning today, you can start trying out with patients tomorrow, with clients tomorrow. But one of the things that you mentioned, we talked about a second ago, is sometimes you'll feel a little nervous trying this out because you've never done it before. So the way to do it, I would say, is try to think of a person that you're working with now where the CBT isn't working so good. Or if they have, so I learned about ACT a while ago, but I remember reading about it and doing workshops and this and that. I'm like, well, when am I going to actually try it? And I had this one client who was like the world's greatest worrier. And every week I'm doing CBT. He'd be like, come in, like, I think I've got cancer and I'm going to die. And I'd be like, what's the likelihood you have cancer? How bad would it be if you had cancer? Blah, blah, blah. So I'm doing CBT. And then that would be 1 week. Then next week I was like, I think I'm going to get fired from my job. What's the likelihood you're going to get fired from your job? How bad would it be to get fired from your job? We go through that. Next week, I think my child is not going to be able to graduate from school. What's the likelihood your child is going to graduate? So every week, same. And so I feel like I'm going to try ACT with this guy. He's going to be my first ACT patient. So he came in and he goes like, same. I think my wife doesn't really love me. I was almost going to say, what's the likelihood? I'm like, wait. You're trying to get rid of this. I just kind of started with like, let's agree that you are the world's greatest worrier. You're really, really, really good at worrying. And let's say we stop talking about that. And if we stop talking about you worrying, what would we talk about instead? And he's like, don't know. I'm like, okay, let's talk about that other thing then. So that was my first ACT patient. The idea is, you accept that you're a good worrier. You worry. Let's figure out what you want your life to be about if you're not worrying all the time. And, he came up with like many patients. He goes, I want to be a good father. I want to be a good husband. So from that day on, I said, let's just talk about being a good husband, being a good father. We never talked about worry again. And I was like, this was fun. It was nice to stop talking about worrying every day. So you can do that. Try to find a patient that you think might, or a client that you think might be a good candidate, and just try it out. And I will tell you something, they'll like it. And they'll be a little puzzled at first. They're like, wait a minute. But they're gonna like it. And I've never really had a client not like ACT yet. I'm sure it'll happen, but so far, pretty okay. They get the idea pretty quickly that like fighting with my thoughts hasn't helped me out very much. And they really like the idea of like stopping that because they're tired of fighting. They're tired of fighting their thoughts and they'd rather not. So that's how you can start with your very first person. And you can email me if you want or email anyone and say, hey, I got this person, what do you think? I'll be like, go for it. Nothing bad will happen. You'll feel a little nervous. But once you start doing it more and more, it gets easier and easier. And before long, like me, I never do anything but ACT. I can't go back to CBT. It's very difficult for me to go back to regular CBT. I mean, I could, but I just don't. So.
I'll translate.
Oh, yeah.
ចឹងមុនហ្នឹងបងគេគាត់សួរ Uncle Will ថាពេលណាបណ្ដៃយើង
Uncle Will
ចឹងចាប់ផ្ដើមថាយើងអាចចាប់ផ្ដើមប្រើ act បានហើយគាត់និយាយថាយើងអាចចាប់ផ្ដើមស្អែកពួកយើងអាចចាប់ផ្ដើមបានហ្មងហើយគាត់ពេលដែលគាត់ដំបូងមុននឹងគាត់ចាប់ផ្ដើមប្រើ act ហ្នឹងគាត់អានពីវាច្រើនហើយគាត់កាលពីមុនគាត់មាន client មួយដែលគាត់និយាយថាមើលទៅតំណងសមជាងគេដែលធ្វើ act បានដំបូងហ្នឹងណា client ហ្នឹងគាត់ធ្វើ CBT ជាមួយរហូតមកលេខទី1និយាយរឿងពាក់ព័ន្ធថាតិចគាត់កើតកង់សៀតិចអាចគាត់កើតកង់សៀហើយអង្គវិញគាត់និយាយថាតើភាគរយដែលអាចកើតកង់សៀនោះវាមានប្រមាណនឹងចាប់ដើមឆ្លោះគ្នាមួយ idea ហ្នឹងដល់លើកអាទិត្យក្រោយគាត់ទៅនិយាយរឿងថាតិចខ្ញុំបាត់បង់ការងារធ្វើទៅគាត់ក៏ចាប់ដើមនិយាយថាតើវាមានភាគរយប្រមាណដែលគាត់អាចបាត់ការងារធ្វើឆ្លោះគ្នារហូតដល់ពេលមួយគាត់ថាអូសាក់ប្រើអាចហ្នឹងអញ្ចឹងលើកដែលគាត់ដែលបានប្រើសោះគាត់ប្រើមួយ client ហ្នឹងហើយគាត់និយាយមកថាអូខ្ញុំទទួលស្គាល់ថាបងឯងប៉ាកែព្រួយបារម្ភណាអញប៉ាកែជាងគេហ្មងប៉ាកែខ្លាំងទៀត and then គាត់សួរថាក្រៅពីព្រួយបារម្ភមកឯងចង់ខ្លាចជាអីហ្នឹងហើយយើងគាត់ថាគាត់ចង់ធ្វើនេះធ្វើនោះគាត់ចាប់តាម top value ហើយគាត់ថាចាប់ពីថ្ងៃហ្នឹងទៅយើងឈប់និយាយពីការព្រួយបារម្ភយើងនិយាយពីអ្វីដែលគាត់ចង់បានដែលលើកឧទាហរណ៍ថាចង់ខ្លាចជាឪពុកល្អចឹងទៅអញ្ចឹងគាត់ចាប់ផ្ដើមធ្វើ act តាំងពីពេលនោះមកហើយគាត់និយាយថាបើជាក់ស្ដែងហ្មងគាត់ដំបូងគាត់ខាង CBT ប៉ុន្តែដល់ពេលឥឡូវគាត់ប្រើ act គាត់អត់អាចប្រើ CBT សោះហ្មងឥឡូវនឹងចាប់ពីគាត់ស្គាល់ act មកគាត់ប្រើតែ act
So, okay. So we'll do the funeral exercise now. So get in a nice comfortable position and just close your eyes for a minute. And just relax. And I'll just kind of walk you through this exercise and we'll kind of go back and forth like that, or back and forth. Okay. So just close your eyes and relax and breathe. And what I want you to do is imagine that somehow it's the future and you've died. And by some ability, you're going to be able to attend your own funeral.
ចឹងសូមឲ្យអ្នកទាំងអស់គ្នាបិទភ្នែកបន្តិចហើយចាប់ផ្ដើមចាប់អារម្មណ៍ទៅលើដង្ហើមគ្រាន់តែចាប់អារម្មណ៍ទៅលើបរិយាកាសជុំវិញហើយកំពុងតែសម័យថាទៅថ្ងៃអនាគតដើរចូលទៅចូលរួមពិធីបុណ្យសពរបស់ខ្លួនឯង
So I want you to imagine you're at your funeral. Imagine who's there, your friends, family, people you've known in your life. They've all come to your funeral. And I want you to imagine the people at your funeral, who's there.
អញ្ចឹងបើសិនជាអ្នកទាំងអស់គ្នាទៅដល់ពិធីបុណ្យសពរបស់ខ្លួនឯងហើយសូមកលេចមើលជុំវិញនៅក្នុងពិធីនោះកលេចមើលមុខអ្នកចូលរួមទាំងអស់តើអ្នកទាំងអស់គ្នាចង់ឃើញអ្នកណាខ្លះបានឃើញអ្នកណាខ្លះហើយសង្កេតមើលជុំវិញនៅក្នុងនោះចង់ឲ្យអ្នកណានៅទីនោះទៀត
And as in all funerals, a person that knows you well is going to stand up and talk about your life, the life that you spent on earth, and who you are, and what your life meant to them.
ក្នុងពិធីបុណ្យសពនេះអ្នកទាំងអស់គ្នានឹងឃើញមនុស្សម្នាក់ដែលអ្នកទាំងអស់គ្នាចំណាយពេលវេលាជាមួយច្រើនជាងគេជាអ្នកដែលយកចិត្តទុកដាក់ស្រឡាញ់អ្នកហើយតែងតែនៅជាមួយអ្នកនៅទីនេះមកចូលរួមពិធីបុណ្យសពអ្នក
And take a moment to look into your heart and think about what in the deepest part of your heart would you like for this person to say about the time that you spent on earth? What I mean by that is when people die, what's left behind is your life's work. We don't really remember people for their possessions. We remember them for what they stood for or the values that they had in life. I'd like for you to think about, in the deepest part of your heart, what would you like people to say about you, the life that you led on earth, once you've died? What would you like this person to say about you?
នៅក្នុងពិធីបុណ្យសពរបស់អ្នកនេះសូមឲ្យអ្នកសម័យទៅលើពាក្យពេចន៍ទាំងឡាយដែលអ្នកចង់ឲ្យមនុស្សជាទីស្រឡាញ់របស់អ្នកដែលស្គាល់អ្នកខ្លាំងជាងគេនិយាយអំពីខ្លួនអ្នកតែចង់ឮពាក្យពេចន៍អីនៅពេលហ្នឹងចង់ឲ្យគាត់បកស្រាយឬក៏ពិពណ៌នាពីជីវិតរបស់អ្នកតាំងពីដើមរហូតដល់ចំណុចចុងក្រោយនេះតែចង់ឮពាក្យពេចន៍អីខ្លះដែលគាត់នឹងនិយាយនៅពេលនោះ
And so be brave and bold in your dreaming about your funeral. Passengers will show up and say, no, 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 cannot. Don't listen to them, but pay attention to what your heart really deeply wishes for at your funeral.
ក្នុងពិធីបុណ្យសពនេះសូមសម័យទៅលើពាក្យទោះបីជាមាន passenger កំពុងតែប្រាប់ថាពាក្យរឿងនឹងមិនពិតព្យាយាមសម័យទៅរកពាក្យដែលនៅក្នុងជំរឿដួងចិត្តអ្នកតើអ្នកចង់ឲ្យគេនិយាយអំពីខ្លួនអ្នកយ៉ាងម៉េចដែរនៅពិធីបុណ្យសពនេះ
The funeral is over, and many times after a funeral is over, in America and here, maybe there's a few words that are going to be written on a tombstone or a temple about you, and maybe just a few words that will represent who you were in your time on earth.
ចឹងនៅពេលនេះពិធីបុណ្យសពអ្នកបានចប់ហើយតែសូមឲ្យអ្នកសម័យមើលទៅលើទីកន្លែងដែលគេនឹងដាក់ធាតុអ្នកនៅទីនោះបើអ្នកកាន់ពុទ្ធសាសនាអាចសម័យមើលទៅលើរូបរាងចេតិយអ្នកកាន់សាសនាផ្សេងអាចសម័យមើលទៅលើទៅកាន់រូបភ្នោកលេចមើលរូបភ្នោនោះឬក៏ចេតិយនោះតើអ្នកឃើញថាចង់ទៅសេពីអីអំពីខ្លួនអ្នកតំណាងឲ្យភាពបញ្ចប់នៃជីវិតនេះទេ
So in the next moment, listen to your heart. Try to find a few words that your heart is telling you would like to have written on your tombstone that represents your time on earth.
ហើយសូមពេលនេះព្យាយាមស្ដាប់ទៅកាន់ជំរឿដួងចិត្តអ្នកតើពាក្យអីដែលដួងចិត្តអ្នកចង់ប្រាប់មកកាន់អ្នកចង់ទៅសេពាក្យនឹងតំណាងឲ្យជីវិតទាំងមូលរបស់អ្នកជាមនុស្សម្នាក់នៅលើពិភពលោកនេះ
Okay, that was a short exercise. What I'd like for you to do now is wake up, open up, and maybe write down the words that came to mind so you don't forget them. Whatever words came to mind that you want spoken about you at your funeral, just go ahead and write them down. It's just between you and your heart.
ចឹងបើសិនជាអ្នកទាំងអស់គ្នាបានឃើញពាក្យហ្នឹងហើយនៅចំណុចចុងក្រោយនៃចុងបញ្ចប់ជីវិតហ្នឹងតើយើងចង់ឃើញពាក្យអីទៅសេនៅលើភ្នោឬក៏ចេតិយមួយម៉ាត់ឬក៏ពីរម៉ាត់ពាក្យហ្នឹងតំណាងឲ្យអ្នកសូមទៅសេវាតុ
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. I like that. That's like awesome. That's a good one.
Nice.
I really, really like that.
Slay.
That's like great.
Slay.
That change to mental, change to so 3 to 5.
That's wonderful. Yeah, that's good.
Fire.
Okay, so that's like a values exercise. That's one that we use to help clients begin to think about what they want their life to be about. So remember, what they've come into therapy is like, I'm afraid that I'm not lovable. I don't like being lovable. I want to get rid of lovable. And by the end of therapy, you say, what do you want to be about? And that's what values comes in. So we use these examples like the meaning and purpose of your life. What's the meaning and purpose of your life? So we can use the funeral exercise. Sometimes if clients have a hard time, we'll give them some help. And we'll say, well, here's some areas in life that are important: family, health, education. Do these things seem important to you? But we're just trying to help the clients identify, they're driving the bus, where are they driving the bus? And values, you want to help the clients, are different from goals. Values are not goals, meaning you can never check it off and say, I'm done. So let's say a value like I want to be a good father. You never reach a point in life where you say, I'm done with that. I've officially become a good father. I never have to worry about it again. So values can never be achieved. You can only move towards them in life, but you never accomplish them. Because sometimes people will say like, oh, I want to be rich. Well, you can check that off. They say, well, rich maybe isn't really a value. What's behind that? And most of the time they'll say, well, if I'm wealthy, then I'll be able to take good care of my family. You're like, oh, so you want to be a provider. You want to provide for others. That's a value. Rich is not a value. Get the idea? So you try to help them figure out what do they want in life.
ចឹងគាត់ចង់ឲ្យបែងចែកថាយើងកំពុងតែរកតម្លៃនៃជីវិតរបស់ខ្លែងយើងមួយហើយអានេះបើយើងធ្វើមិនធ្វើមួយគឺក៏យើងអាចឲ្យកដាស់នេះយើងចាប់តាម explore នឹងគាត់ហើយគាត់ចង់ឲ្យច្បាស់ថាគោលដៅឬ achievement ហើយជាមួយ value ហើយ purpose ខុសគ្នាអត់អាចមានណាគេនិយាយថាអូខ្ញុំខ្លាចជាឪពុកល្អឆាច់ចង់អត់អាចទេអញ្ចឹង value ជាមួយ purpose តែតែមានរហូតពេលថ្ងៃបញ្ចប់
And sometimes when clients have been beat down in life, they pick little values, and you really want them to be brave and say, no, you can have big values. And they might be afraid because they're like, I'll never be able to be loved, or I'll never be able to. And you say, no, it's okay to have that. You can have a big dream. It's okay. So helping clients move past their passengers would say you cannot. And that's what we really work on with values. So afterward, you can.
ចឹងគាត់ពេលថាចាប់រំខានយើងអើយតម្លៃឬក៏ purpose គាត់តូចតែគាត់គិតថាគាត់អាចធ្វើលើពីនឹងបានទេប៉ុន្តែអាពាក្យសម្ដីថាខ្ញុំអាចធ្វើលើពីនឹងបានគឺជា passenger បាត់ហើយអញ្ចឹងយើងជា client យើងត្រូវចាប់អាចចំណុចហ្នឹងឲ្យជាប់ហើយជំរុញពួកគាត់ថាពួកគាត់អាចទោះជាមើលទៅដូចវាពិបាកនឹងអាចឈោមដល់ក៏ដោយក៏យើងនៅតែព្យាយាមលើកទឹកចិត្តគាត់
And the next thing we do after that now becomes committed action, which is what are the specific steps that you will take behaviorally that will move you towards your values every week, or as long as you meet with them. What are the goals or the behaviors that you will do that will move you towards your values?
ចឹងអានេះជាផលរបស់អាចហ្នឹងគឺអក្សរ C ហ្នឹងគឺយើងចាប់តាមធ្វើ contract គាត់ដែលនេះហើយលក្ខខណ្ឌជា behavioral របស់ act ជាសកម្មភាពចឹងគាត់ត្រូវធ្វើ contract នេះដើម្បីឲ្យឃើញថាគាត់កំពុងតែធ្វើអីមួយដែលជំរុញគាត់ឲ្យកាន់ទៅដល់គុណតម្លៃនៃជីវិតរបស់
So therapy becomes each week then about, did you take action towards your values? And how did that go for you? And then they'll say, and you'll know if they're doing well with that because they'll start talking like you do. They'll say, well, I was working with a student who wanted to, her mom and dad were really, she played tennis. And she's very, very good. But all of a sudden, she started playing very badly. And sort of like, what happened? And she started getting a passenger which said, I'm not a good tennis player, for whatever reason. I don't know why. And from that point on, she started losing her matches. Her parents noticed this and said, what's going on? And so we did acceptance and commitment therapy with her. And after a while, she starts talking like me. She goes, well, Bob's been coming to my tennis matches and he sits right in the front row and yells at me.
ចឹងគាត់បានធ្វើនិយាយទៅគាត់ចាប់អារម្មណ៍ថាពេលដែលគាត់ធ្វើ act ជាមួយ client គាត់notice ដូចចាប់អារម្មណ៍ថា client គាត់ចាប់បាននិយាយដូចគាត់ចឹងគាត់អត់ប្រើពាក្យអាហ្នឹងកំណត់អាក្រក់ឬក៏អីគាត់ប្រើពាក្យ Bob ឬក៏ passenger ពេលដែលគាត់លើកឧទាហរណ៍ថាគាត់client គាត់ហ្នឹងលេង tennis បកាលេង tennis ប៉ុន្តែដល់ពេលគាត់ចាប់បានមាន passenger មួយប្រាប់ថាគាត់អត់បកាដល់ពេលគាត់ដឹងខ្លួនឯងអត់បកាគាត់ហៅទៅលេងទៅពិបាកទៅក៏គាត់សម្រេចចិត្តមកជួបពួកវា ហើយដល់ពេលគាត់ជួបហើយបានចាប់ផ្ដើមចេញអាពាក្យសម្ដីដែលគាត់និយាយថាអូយពេលតែខ្ញុំលេងហ្នឹងខ្ញុំចាប់អារម្មណ៍ថាអាបបហ្នឹងវានៅណាវានៅមើលខ្ញុំលេងហ្នឹង
So they start, you kind of get the idea they know, they understand what's going on, and you listen for these techniques. So what I thought the last thing we could do today is a committed action. And if you want to, it's purely voluntary. You can try it out. This is the hardest thing I'll ask you to do today. If you want to do it, you can. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to. And I did learn a really cool thing from a Buddhist monk. And I can't remember how it came up. No, well, anyway. But the idea is like, when sometimes your clients don't want to do some things, and if he kind of helped me learn something. He said, if a client says no to you, or a student, if I say, hey, could you do something? And the student says no, he said, remember to bow and say thank you whenever someone says no. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of a good idea. And what he said was, I thought this was really nice. He said, if a person feels free to say no to you, that means whenever they say yes, it's a real yes. It's a truthful yes. It means they believe that you will be a good person if they say no, they trust you, and that means their yeses are meaningful. So he said, whenever someone says no, be sure to say thank you because it's a great honor.
ចឹងគាត់បានទៅជួបលោកសំហ្នឹងបានបរៀនអីគេគាត់មួយគាត់ប្រាប់ថាពេលដែលមនុស្សម្នាក់និយាយពេលដែលយើងនិយាយអីមួយគាត់សុំអីគេពីគាត់បើម្នាក់ហ្នឹងនិយាយថា no ត្រូវតែអរគុណគាត់ព្រោះពេលដែលយើងគាត់ដំបូងគាត់ឆ្ងល់ថាថៃបានទៅអរគុណគេយើងគេនិយាយ no ប៉ុន្តែអីដែលយើងចាប់អារម្មណ៍គឺម្នាក់ហ្នឹងគាត់ brave ណាស់គាត់អាចទុកចិត្តយើងថាពេលដែលយើងនិយាយគាត់និយាយថា no យើង respect គាត់យើងអរគុណគាត់ព្រោះមនុស្សម្នាក់ពេលខ្លះ yes ទៅចេះទៅសិនទៅកុំឲ្យគេអស់ចិត្តប៉ុន្តែពេលដែលគាត់ brave ដែលគាត់មានភាពក្លាហាននិយាយ no យើងត្រូវតែ appreciate ដែលគាត់យើងត្រូវតែអរគុណគាត់ហើយមួយទៀតគាត់មាន freedom to say no ហើយគាត់ trust you គាត់ទុកចិត្ត
So the committed action technique goes like this, and we do this with clients. They identify my values are blank. I'll show you. My values are blank. What I've been doing is blank. This has cost me blank. I'm through with that. I commit to blank. So for the mom who had panic disorder, we did this. She said, my values are to be a loving mother. What I've been doing is avoiding my daughter's performances because I don't want to have anxiety. This has cost me the feeling of being a good mother and my daughter having the ability to see me at her performances. I'm through with that. Next month, I'm going to her performance. So we walk through committed action with each patient like that.
ចឹងយើងមានចាំខ្លះអីមួយនិយាយពាក់ព័ន្ធជាមួយថាគាត់មានជំនឿសើគឺគាត់អត់ពីទៅជួបកូនគាត់ចឹងអានេះជាអីដែលពូវាគាត់ធ្វើជាមួយអ្នកជំនឿចឹងទី1គឺ identify គាត់សម្គាល់តម្លៃជីវិតគាត់ចឹងជីតម្លៃជីវិតរបស់អ្នកclient ហ្នឹងគាត់ថាគាត់ចង់ខ្លាចជាម្ដាយល្អហើយគាត់ថាមួយទៀតថា what I've been doing is ចឹងពេលឥឡូវនេះខ្ញុំកំពុងតែធ្វើអីខ្ញុំកំពុងតែគិតវេះខ្ញុំអត់បានខ្ញុំកំពុងតែគិតវេះខ្ញុំអត់ចេះតែខ្ញុំលាក់ខ្លួនជាដើមចឹងទៅហើយថាវាធ្វើមានរឿងអីកើតឡើងសម្រាប់ខ្ញុំឡើងខ្លាចជាម្ដាយល្អខ្ញុំអត់អាចកូនខ្ញុំអត់មានឃើញម្ដាយទៅមើលគាត់ច្រៀងហើយបានប្រាប់ថាខ្ញុំឈប់ចង់ធ្វើអញ្ចឹងទៀតទេហើយចុងក្រោយគឺខ្ញុំនឹងព្យាយាមទៅជួបទៅអង្គុយមើលកូនខ្ញុំច្រៀង That is the goal.
And so I will invite anyone here who wants to try this to do this committed action. And if you choose to do it or not, it's totally okay. For everyone else to support them if they make a choice to make a committed action. Because you can make a change in your life today that will last. This has happened, I've done this workshop many times, and every time we get to this, I always feel like I have to do a committed action. And I have a hard time with it because it makes me feel very, very emotional. But I made a commitment not the first time, but some students asked me some questions, and then I realized that I have been doing some things not so